What do you think of like a federation solution?
Well, I think that considering the threats that the Jewish people face, what really determines whether Israel exists or not is its military, its military force. We've seen that in the Middle East, if you're a minority group without military force, you end up getting slaughtered. Look at the Yazidis, look at the Kurds, look at the Assyrians, Copts, so on and so forth. So what really matters in the structure of the state is what security it provides for the Jews living in it. And any sort of federation that doesn't provide that kind of security will not be acceptable to the Israeli people, and I believe would also be a mistake and would be unworkable. So the devil is in the details in these sorts of things. To me, federation would suggest that they share foreign policy and security policy while having internal domestic autonomy. And I don't think that would be workable at all for the reasons that I said, because then what happens if Israel is at war and then you have a military that represents different ethnicities? Well, we have a pretty good idea of what happens from Lebanon. In Lebanon, we have a military in a country where, one commander has to be Druze and one commander has to be Sunni, and the Shiite has to be the one who cleans the toilets or whatever their scheme is in the military. And the end result is the military can't function. The Hezbollah goes and fights the Christians, or the Christians fight the Palestinians, or whatever's happening. The army hides in its barracks because it's politically unable to operate. So, I have my background is in military strategy, so that's the first thing I look at. But I think that's the most important element. So if you're talking about a shared foreign policy, shared military, it's not going to work. It's a pipe dream, and it won't be acceptable to Israelis.
Right. So I like the federation solution for many reasons, but that I think is what you bring up is one of the biggest concerns. And I would say that if we go down the path of federation, the shared military, it would need to be like a multi-generational thing. Like it would need to take time. I think it starts with like other smaller steps. So you can have like a 20-year plan until you have like the shared military. But first you could just start with like more local autonomy, increase the freedom of movement. Hold on. There's like a runners group, a bunch of runners. Okay, cool. Appreciate the effort. So it seems like there's certain, and this is a tension. You hear many like the Palestinians, they want like, they say end the occupation and we'll give you peace, and we say give us peace and we'll end the occupation, right? There's like this desire to first have full freedom on the entire land and then there'll be peace, and we're like whoa, we don't want to die, and we're not gonna do something that is gonna lead to an existential threat. We're just not going to. Call us racist, call us apartheid. We'd rather be called racist in an apartheid state than be dead, right? So say whatever you want. We're not going to put ourselves in danger. So I do wonder if there's a way to construct a federation that doesn't cause an existential threat. And over time, once there's, a process of reconciliation, we could get there. Again, this could just be too much of an idealist solution, but it does seem over time the two-state solution becomes less and less tenable. The fact that the majority of both populations don't seem to support it anymore, and you have just what would a Palestinian state look like with this many amount of settlers? How do you remove them if that's what you decide to do? So I'm trying to be realistic, so it's like, we need to find some solution,
Yeah, well, we need to start talking. We need to start talking, and if we start talking and building confidence, then these things will be more possible. But that requires Hamas to be removed from power, and that requires Israel to stop with its settlements and its attempts to destroy the PA. Then we can start talks. Certainly, talks about a federation seem premature, but ultimately, if Israel can maintain its security for the Jewish people and its identity in any format, I'm for it. Right now, for the reasons I said, I don't think it's workable. I think Israel exists in the Middle East on its sword. We've exaggerated that it needs to exist only on its sword. and use no other tools at all.
Right.
That is a terrible mistake. We have all these other tools, but the military remains our most important tool, because without that tool, we just wouldn't exist.
Right.
And that's the main problem with the federation, because it involves, from what I've seen of other federations, a shared security apparatus, which Israel cannot afford to create.
We've needed our military to exist, and we still need it to exist, but it's time to recognize that that alone will not ensure our survival here on the land.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah.